Hey everyone, this is the second episode of What's Mommy's Name? This episode, we really wanted to focus on telling a little bit of our stories, our background as to who we were before becoming moms. That way you kind of get a sense of the journey we've been on as people in like shaping our personalities and our identities. So, obviously.
Like I just haven't said anything yet. Hi guys. We're really excited to be doing this second episode. I know I was nervous about the first one, and I feel like the more we keep recording, the more natural we are getting.
A little bit about myself and my own journey. To start with, my mom and dad met in high school, and my dad actually isn't from America, but he came to America during high school, and I'm not really sure of like the exact timelines because I know my mom was 20 when she had me, so it must have been a little bit after high school ended that they were seeing each other still, and I was conceived. It ended after she had me, I think. So my mom raised me for the early parts of my childhood. I'm the oldest of, oh my God.
Maybe we should tell them to go upstairs.
Yes.
I'm like trying to focus, but I'm like, I wonder if the microphone is picking this up.
Hey.
This is what happens when you have children and you are trying to do a podcast.
As I was saying, so I'm the oldest of 5. 3 of my siblings share a dad. My youngest has his own dad, and I have a dad. And all of our dads also have other children. So there's a lot of kids, a lot of siblings, and we don't really feel like the whole, that's my half sibling. Nobody says that. It's just, we're siblings. The 5 of us of my mom's we all live together. So, and we're like step children. We're very close in age, like one after another.
Yeah.
A series of unfortunate events occurred in my early childhood, around 8 years old. I moved in with my paternal grandparents, so my dad's parents. And these were strangers to me before that. So not only that, but my dad's not American, so it was a very big culture shock at the time, being exposed to something entirely new that I didn't know existed beforehand. So, there's trauma that comes with not living with the parent that raised you or your siblings that you grew up with. But out of that trauma and that change and those circumstances came a lot of blessings. But yeah, that was just a big change for me, and at that point, moving forward, yeah, there were a lot of changes. My grandparents were pretty strict. They weren't mean, but they had rules that I never had before. And going into middle school, obviously as a girl, you're going through changes. You start paying attention to how you look.
Hold on, we'll just cut these parts. We are learning.
So obviously in middle school, you're going through changes, and as a girl, you're paying more attention to how you look. And there were a lot of rules about like no wearing makeup, no dyeing your hair, which is pretty normal. Novia.
What force is trying to get us to stop right now? Look and see what it looks like on the phone. Did she fall, or I thought she dropped something? We have a lot of editing to do this video. You guys, we are having so many difficulties recording this video. I was late to Natasha's house to start recording. Then I had to go pick up my kids and all the way across town and drop them off at my mom's to come all the way back here so that we could try and finish. Then I got back here and the camera died. It had a full battery like 2 hours ago, so I don't understand. And then the lights that we're using keep turning off for some reason. And we had to keep re-recording and starting over. And now we're using Natasha's phone. So I'm sorry if the quality is not as great. We are just trying to push through. I don't know if this is like a test of how serious we are and, you know, whether or not we're going to give up, but we are not giving up. Okay. We're going to do this. We're going to finish this episode. I don't care what it takes. I only have a little bit of time and we need to get this done. So thank you for watching because this has not been a great experience so far today, but I'm still really happy to be here.
Is it still recording?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So you brought up the point of your grandparents.
No makeup, no hair dye.
Rules.
Being that I came from a household where there wasn't really structure or rules in place, I think I already had a developed sense of, I'm not even sure what to call it, but I was aware of myself just being a person and not only a child. I would always question things. I guess could say I talked back. But yeah, I was kind of defiant. So all of those rules set in place, I broke them one way or another. I'd find my way around doing things. So like for makeup and hair dye, I would ride my bike into town to Walmart, and I don't even remember how I had money, probably just from my grandparents. And I would buy hair dye and I would buy makeup, and never like hair dye that was like completely a different color that's like so noticeable, but like enough of a change where I felt happy having a change, and
You felt in control.
yes, exactly.
I'm getting cozy over here. I feel like we've been through so much already today. I'm just like, I don't care anymore.
Many rules were broken, like creating a MySpace account in like 4th or 5th grade, and I would walk to the public library from where my grandma worked and use their computers to get on my MySpace account. And
this was in middle school.
Yes.
Obviously. Okay. I'm going to catch up to you real quick so we can talk about our middle school days. My parents were teen parents and they met in high school as well. From the time that my mom was pregnant until throughout my whole life, actually, my parents were never together. Growing up with a single mom was, in most of my memories, a good experience. I felt like I had a best friend pretty much my entire like young life, in childhood and throughout middle school and even most of high school. I think because we grew up together, I think a lot of teen parents say things like that, like you grow up with your child. We were really all that each other had because she was doing it, you know, mostly on her own. Going through elementary school, and middle school, I had a hard time kind of adjusting to life outside of being at home with my mom. My dad was sort of around when I was a kid. I mostly spent time at his mom's house. And then he ended up going into the military, I think when I was like 7. And then he moved out of state because he got stationed somewhere else. And that was when I was 8. And then we didn't live in the same state again until I was in my 20s. So I really only had my mom. I would go visit my dad sometimes, and that was a very interesting experience because I was like an outsider, knowing that somebody is your parent but not having that bond with them. You know, you love them and you feel like a connection, but there just isn't that closeness and comfort that is in that relationship. Not having a dad obviously affects a lot of people, usually in negative ways, because you have like a loss of self and identity when you don't know the other person that helped make you. Getting to middle school, where you are changing and going through puberty, I can say I didn't have a role model of like a male and female relationship. And so communicating with my peers, especially males, was extremely difficult for me. As far as like rules go, I never had any, like you're saying that you did. And I think it was more because my mom didn't have a reason to give them to me. I was not like doing things that I shouldn't have been. I wasn't like sneaking out of the house. Well, I never had to. I wasn't given rules about like not being able to dye my hair. I think the first time I put bleach in my hair, I was in elementary school, and my grandma bleached like highlights in the front of my head for me. Yeah. And so there was never rules about like anything like that. If I wanted to wear makeup, I could wear makeup. I could do my hair any crazy way that I wanted to. At that point, I don't think kids our age even wore inappropriate clothes because it wasn't the style. So like there wasn't any rules about what I could and couldn't wear.
Rules about what I could wear.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what? I feel like everything we wore back then like totally covered our body parts. You know what I mean?
I like tank tops and stuff.
You couldn't wear a tank top? Oh, wow.
I couldn't shave my legs.
Oh my God. I shaved my legs for the first time in 4th grade.
Really?
4th grade. And my mom was in the bathroom with me.
See, I learned all of this stuff, how to use makeup, how to dye my hair, how to shave my legs, all of this stuff on my own. And in high school, my grandma called the school, and I lived with my aunt also, but she called the school and said she was picking us up. So we're like, oh, that's weird. So we get in the car and she pulls out a razor. What is this?
Oh my God.
This is like sophomore or junior year.
Of high school?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I just can't even imagine that.
Yep.
Wait, but what did you guys say?
I mean, I just defended my choice to shave my legs. Like, okay, first of all, you're crazy. Times have changed. It matters to have hair on I don't want hair on my legs. Like,
That is so funny.
and it went on to like, I'm gonna burn your guys' bras. And
That is hilarious, especially knowing your grandma is like very hippie. Yeah, I cannot relate to those things.
okay, I had a insecurity about hair on my body because with my dad being not from America, he's Middle Eastern. I was just a hairy little girl, and I remember it was like 1st grade. This boy like pointed out the hair on my arms, like, "Oh, you have hairy arms." I literally, in that moment, took scissors, put them in my pocket, asked to go to the bathroom, and cut the hair off my arms. In that moment, I'm like, oh, this is something that's not normal. That was 1st grade. But
1st grade?
yes.
Okay, well, he was just a little shit then. Like, why do you care if a girl has hair when you're in 1st grade? See, this is what happens. Girls get insecure from such a young age.
Yeah.
Like, you are a kid and somebody's already telling you you can't have hair on your body. I would say, as far as like becoming insecure, I was always way too self-aware. I feel like that was like when I have memories and I think back to times in my life, I can only think of what I was thinking at that time. And it was like always, oh my God, is somebody noticing this? Oh my God, am I bleeding through my pants right now? Am I, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just always like worrying about how I was coming off to people.
I think
to like an unhealthy amount.
right, but I feel like to an extent, everybody was doing that in middle school. It's like this hyper aware sense of yourself that like you grow out of.
I did not grow out of it.
Oh, okay, no.
I feel like I still struggle with that sometimes. It's a lot less now, but I would say it followed me all through high school as well, where I just was never comfortable in my body. It seems as though you had less of a struggle with finding who you were as an individual. You've kind of always had this self-assurance, I guess, in a way, confident.
Not like outwardly, but I guess inwardly.
Yes.
So
it wasn't like you had so many friends and were the most popular girl. You were doing your own thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, you kind of have it right. I think I did have very early on, had an awareness of who I was or my individualism, but that's also kind of isolating. Also, when you have the factor of like me going to like 7 different schools, and not knowing where I fit in. But I've always kind of been an introvert anyways, so it didn't bother me that much. It was isolating, but I was okay with it.
Right. I also feel like I'm getting more of a picture of you
Really?
as your friend as I'm sitting here, because I'm thinking about the fact that you were taken away from your family, right? And you went to move with your grandparents, whom you didn't know, just like going to all of these schools with people that you didn't know.
That's a very unique experience that nobody else around me is relating to.
Right. And obviously going through stuff like that probably matures you faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like some people might have that experience and feel the total opposite of you and feel like really insecure, really like nervous about going to new places, and feel a lot more lost than you're saying that you did. Hearing this, it makes just a lot of sense as to why you are a person who really always makes your own decisions. You know, I don't feel like you're led by other people very much. Information comes to you and you process it and you choose what you like or don't like. And it's not ever based on other people's opinions.
I'm glad like somebody can recognize that about me.
Well, I think it's interesting because I have the total opposite experience where
I know, and I've known that about you, and it's always been like, she'll catch up.
Because of my close relationship with my mom, I feel like my identity was always in that relationship. I was just constantly thinking about what other people were thinking about me. Is this okay? Is that okay? Is this wrong? Is this right? And I was always very aware of like how other people were feeling, and I feel like that directed my behavior. So like people pleasing, I don't know, just not having the confidence to come to my own conclusions. It was like if somebody said something, then I felt almost automatically like that was my new truth until somebody else said something. And then it's like a lot of back and forth, I feel like, for me for a long time, and learning how to take what somebody's saying and not think that I have to think that way now, if that makes sense.
For me, in my early days, I had the introspection to, you know, think about like, okay, the way I'm doing things isn't working. I'm not getting the things that I want. How do I get the things that I want? And that's where people pleasing would come into play.
Would people call that manipulation?
Yes, and I think I admitted to that before.
Yeah, you have. You definitely have. I think you literally told me, I know how to make people do what I want them to do.
Yes. Okay, but disclosure, I only did it as a like preteen. Not now.
Okay, I just came to the conclusion, and I've thought this before, but for real now. Children that come from houses that are strict are very manipulative. They have to be to get what they want.
I wouldn't say survival because it's not like...
It's not necessary, but you are a young person. You want to do what you want to do, so you have to find a way.
You have to navigate how to, you know, be like all the other kids.
I never had to do that. Right. I'm terrible at manipulating.
Right.
And I didn't have rules to break.
Okay, like I'll give an example. My best friend wanted me to go to a battle of the bands with her. It was like screamo bands. We had t-shirts, and obviously I would not be allowed to go. We'd go see like ballets and operas at the Detroit Opera House, which I'm so thankful for now, but at the time I hated. And she's like, no, we had these tickets, we're going to this. And I'm like, I really want to go to the movies. Obviously not the movies. So I looked up the opera or ballet that we were seeing for that Friday, and I wrote...
Oh my God, you told me this.
I wrote like a 2-page essay about it. Like,
oh my God. You were winning her over with charm. I never had to learn those skills of being charming. I never had to be charming because I never had anything that I wasn't allowed to do. Like if I wanted to go do something and my mom had the money to let me go do it, I was allowed to go do it. For instance, I was allowed to go to parties at a really young age, actually. The first time I drank was in 7th grade. I think the first time I went to like a college party at MSU was 7th or 8th grade with my Aunt Mercedes.
Oh.
Because she was, what, 3.5 years older than me.
I took my sister when she was like 14 to an MSU college party. So.
Okay, that I was even younger. So, and I remember like drinking and it was terrible but my mom, it wasn't hidden from my mom. Like she knew, if not that night, the next day. Like I always told her everything. And I think just having an open relationship like that made it so that I didn't feel the need to do all the things that like my peers were doing, you know, because to them it was fun because they were breaking rules. They were sneaking out. They were, you know, hiding things from their parents. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can go do that. Sure. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a high of like getting away with something. I did learn how to get out of trouble though. And I often found that telling the truth led to less consequences.
Oh, that's good.
So usually I would say for the most part, I am not a liar. We all tell little white lies, of course, but I am not like the type of person, like I'm almost honest to a fault. Like I feel guilty if I lie.
Comfortable with lying either.
I just have a guilty conscience. Okay, I was going to ask because I think that this is important too, is how did not having fathers in our life affect how we see boys at the time and men now?
You know, you don't like want to admit it or you don't think that it's happening to you, but I think anybody, whether it's a mom or a dad that you don't have in your life, like you're going to go through your life searching for a love that you didn't have. And so when it comes to like being a girl and dating, I think a lot of times what happens is we fall for the guys that show us any interest and don't really pay attention to whether it's like genuine or for the right reasons or, you know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean. Because we did not have an example of what love from a man looked like.
Right.
Our mothers were, no offense, guys, not with the best people. Nobody really that could be like a true father figure to us.
Well,
we didn't have a standard set.
I did have a father figure. Like his relationship with us children was one thing separately.
But did you have a time when you were with your grandma that you weren't allowed to see him?
Yes.
For how long?
I don't know, years. I can't really tell.
Yeah. And you did have your grandpa, right? Your grandma was married.
Right, but they had a negative relationship too.
Maybe we can thank your dad, who is your sibling's dad, right? For giving you some sort of idea of what a dad is.
He was able to establish this sense in my mind of like what a dad does for their kids.
Okay. So for me, not having a dad around, I was obviously much more comfortable with women. My mom's family was mostly women. I have my grandma, my 2 aunts, my mom, it was me, my cousin. That was really it. I was just around those people all the time. And when it came to being around people of the opposite sex, I just didn't even know how to have a conversation with them. My comfort level with them was at a 0. I still feel confused by them. I didn't know how different they were from girls. And I didn't understand the relationship dynamics and all of the things that goes into communicating with the opposite sex. I didn't know how a guy was supposed to talk to me or what to look for when somebody's treating me good or bad or being manipulative or being deceiving. Like completely lost when it came to guys. Then on top of not having that skill you developed to get your way with things, you know, I was not on the end of like controlling a guy. I feel like I was the one being controlled by a guy, you know? So very different experiences.
Well, people pleasing.
Yes. It's interesting to me how we've had but similar experiences in our life growing up. And we just went completely opposite directions in how we see the world and process what we see and experience. Once we got to junior year of high school, what would you say changed for you? Was there anything that brought you to that point, or were you just living your life and things just happened? Because I feel like for me, it was definitely a big change.
For me, I feel like I was just living life. I had previous friendships that were really close before that. I'm interested to know how much of a change it was for you.
A little side story. I grew up as an only child with my mom for 17 years. And when she got pregnant with my sister at the end of 2010, so much in our life changed. We lost the apartment that we were living in and had to move in with people that we barely knew. Very kind people to open up their home to us. I had a best friend at the time who went to a different school than me. We moved in first with her mom's friend / coworker down on campus. And I think we were there for about a month. And then we moved in with my friend and her family, and we were living in their basement. They had a very nice house. Everything just started to change. We didn't even have a home at that point. Like, we were homeless. My mom was getting ready to have my little sister, and her attention was just elsewhere. So I feel like after my sister was born was really when the dynamic changed. And because I was no longer like the priority of my mom and my sister became her priority, I had to find like a new companion and person to like spend my time with. And
I don't think, it's not like you went seeking me out and we...
No. Not at all. But I think that...
You opened your mind to it?
Yeah. And because I had obviously like another friendship too, but I was not close, I would say, with anybody at our school. I was the type of person that always changed friend groups. I would like be friends with some people and then I'd be like, oh my God, that's so immature and annoying. Like, I can't be friends with these people right now. And then I would like move to another group of people because I just wasn't interested in things that normal teenagers were interested in. Like, I had already been drunk, like going to parties and like trying to hook up with people was like ick to me. Like, first of all, I was barely interested in hooking up with guys in the first place, like, and also so oblivious. But that wasn't where I got like my satisfaction. Like, I enjoyed being at home and reading and writing and singing and doing like whatever it was that I wanted to do. And of course I liked hanging out with people. My point is that when my mom had my sister, I was forced to like go out into the world and start living a life outside of the relationship that I had with her. I'm very thankful for it. It was, I feel like in ways hard, and sometimes looking back on it, I feel sad just because it was such a big shift for me personally. But leading up to like becoming friends with you, I didn't ever really have anybody to sit with at lunch because I wasn't really close friends with anybody. And our French teacher would let kids come and eat in her classroom. So I started doing that.
Obviously, only the cool kids.
Our mutual friend who I was friends with, you were friends with, we started hanging out together outside of school. And then one day, 4th of July weekend or something, I think was our first time hanging out without him. And we had such a great time. And we were like, okay, we need to do this all the time now. And we just like clicked in like such a way. We just got each other. I don't know. and we did wild, crazy things. Aside from that, I think that maybe because I had such a sheltered life, but also because I was exposed to things that were probably not appropriate at a young age, I was kind of interested in being like not a good girl, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't the thought of like I'm trying to be not a good girl, but it was like I don't mind this is what I was thinking. Like even if it was kind of weird, I was kind of like I don't really mind.
Please, let's go back to the part where you said you never developed the skill of making people do things that you want.
What did I do?
You influenced me. You got me to do things. Okay. Okay. But we're not gonna get into that. But a lot of my first, in regards to like drinking, smoking, things like that.
I feel like you were just along for the ride too. I don't know if I made you.
No, you didn't make me, but you made it sound very appealing. I don't remember the exact words, but
I feel like but
also
maybe it was just the dynamic of our friendship.
No, it was because obviously like I felt comfortable enough to do those things.
Yes, that is why we became friends, because we had like this connection where we could be weird, grumpy, frustrated, all of these things, and it never like ruined our friendship. You know, like we were allowed to feel and do whatever and we still stayed friends. It didn't feel like it was like dependent on anything. Like, oh, if I don't do this, we can't be friends. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that was what led to the big change for me, was having a little sister, getting pushed out of my comfort zone, and things kind of just blossomed from there. Part 3, episode 3, we will talk about becoming mothers and how we experienced that, good or bad. And
how motherhood changed us.
Yeah, and how it changed us. Thank you guys for watching this video. I know it was a crazy mess at some parts, but we're really excited to be doing this, and we're just thankful for anybody that is watching, that is enjoying and supporting us, because it really depends on you guys. So thank you, and we love you, and we'll see you next week.